Grandpa Okoro sat in his favorite armchair, surrounded by his children and grandchildren who had gathered around him to listen to his stories. He had lived a long and fulfilling life, filled with experiences and wisdom that he loved to share with his family. With a warm smile, he began to speak, his voice filled with the richness of his Igbo heritage. My dear children, gather around and listen closely, for I have a story to tell that will teach you valuable lessons about life, perseverance, and the power of wisdom. And so, Grandpa Okoro began to tell the story of Mike Ejeaga's song, Omenani, and the tale of Princess Nneoma and the wise tortoise. The story of Princess Nneoma and the tortoise is shared. In the heart of the animal kingdom, where the sun dipped into the horizon and painted the sky with hues of crimson and gold, there lived a beautiful princess named Nneoma. She was daughter of the mighty king Okeke, ruler of the land and protector of its creatures. Nneoma was a kind and gentle soul, loved by all who knew her. However, she had a mind of her own and a heart full of wonder. She longed for adventure and excitement, and the thought of marrying any of the suitors who came to her father's court left her feeling unfulfilled. One day, the king invited all the eligible bachelors in the land to come and vie for his daughter's hand in marriage. But Nneoma had other plans. She called upon the wisest animal in the kingdom, the tortoise, and sought his counsel. "Tortoise, I do not want to marry any of these suitors," she said. "I have a dream, a fantasy that burns within me. I want to ride across the village on the back of an elephant, feeling the wind in my hair and the sun on my face." The tortoise listened carefully and nodded his head. "I understand, princess, but how will you make this dream a reality?" Nneoma thought for a moment with no response. The tortoise said, "Challenge the suitors to bring you a live elephant. Whoever succeeds will win your hand in marriage." And so the challenge was set. The suitors came from far and wide, each determined to win the princess's heart, but none could fulfill her request. They brought her gifts of gold and jewels, of fine clothes and delicious foods, but no elephant. As the days turned into weeks, the kingdom began to lose hope. Will the princess ever find her elephant, or will she remain unmarried forever? The king repeated the announcement. "Whoever brings me a live elephant shall marry my daughter, Princess Nneoma." The animals gathered, whispering among themselves, but none dared to take on the challenge. They thought it was impossible, a task fit for the gods. But one small wise creature stood tall, the tortoise. Known for his slow and steady ways, approached the king with a twinkle in his eyes. "I, Tortoise, shall marry your daughter," he declared. "I shall bring a live elephant and claim her hand in marriage." The kingdom erupted in laughter. "Tortoise, you? Ha! You're slow, old and weak. What makes you think you can succeed where others have failed?" they jeered. But Tortoise stood firm. "My king, I may be slow, but I am wise. I have lived for many years, and in that time I have learned the secrets of the forest. I know where to find the elephant, and I know how to bring it home." The king, amused by Tortoise's audacity, agreed to let him try. And so, Tortoise set off on his journey, moving slowly but surely through the forest. He met many creatures along the way, each trying to dissuade him from his quest, but Tortoise persevered, using his wit and cunning to overcome every obstacle. The day of the Grand Ofala festival had finally arrived, and the tortoise was running late. He had promised the elephant that he would arrive early to escort him to the king's palace. But the sun was already setting, casting a golden glow over the forest. The elephant, resplendent in his festive attire, was pacing back and forth, his trunk waving in agitation. "Tortoise, where have you been?" he trumpeted. "You said I would be the chief guest of honor, but you're late. How can we arrive on time now?" Tortoise approached the elephant, his shell glistening with dew. "Please, noble elephant, don't worry, we'll get there on time, I promise." But the elephant was not convinced. "You're walking so slowly, Tortoise. Can't you hurry up? We don't want to keep the king waiting." Tortoise smiled wearily. "I'm afraid I'm not as fast as you, my dear elephant. But I have an idea. May I climb onto your back? And you can carry me to the palace. That way, we'll arrive in no time." The elephant agreed, and Tortoise climbed onto his back, holding onto the elephant's neck for support. But then he asked again, "May I tie this rope around your neck, dear elephant, so I can be stable on your back?" The elephant, eager to get moving, agreed once more. And so, they set off towards the palace. The tortoise perched on the elephant's back, holding on to the rope for his dear life. As they journeyed, the tortoise began to sing a triumphant song. "Nnameze, akpata m enyi," he crooned, his voice carrying through the forest. "My king, I have brought the elephant." The elephant looked at Tortoise with a hint of skepticism, his trunk coiled in confusion. "Wambe, isini ikpata onye?" he asked, his voice low and rumbling. "Who are you taking to the king?" Tortoise smiled innocently, his eyes shining with mischief. "Asim, aniya dubeni chebeni," he replied, his voice dripping with sweetness. "Enyi, naga na isogi nazu." The elephant's confusion deepened. What was Tortoise trying to say? But before he could ask anything, Tortoise continued, "I told the land to guide you, Mr. Elephant. Proceed, we are strongly behind you." The elephant's doubts dissipated, replaced by a sense of pride and importance. He was going to be the chief of the occasion after all. He nodded his great head, and Tortoise led him to the palace. As they approached the throne, Tortoise handed the rope tied around the elephant's neck to the king. The king's eyes gleamed with understanding, and he nodded his head in approval. The elephant, still unaware of the significance of the rope, felt a sense of pride and ownership. He was the chief guest, and he would make sure to enjoy every moment of it. But little did he know, the rope tied around his neck was a symbol of Tortoise's ownership and dominance over him. Tortoise has clearly deceived the elephant, using his cunning and wit to outsmart him. As the festival began, the elephant danced and trumpeted, enjoying the attention and admiration of the crowd. But Tortoise watched from the sidelines, a knowing glint in his eyes. He had pulled off the impossible, and he knew that he would always be one step ahead of the elephant. The Grand Ofala festival had come to an end, and the kingdom was buzzing with excitement. But amidst the joy and celebration, a sinister plot had unfolded. Tortoise, once thought to be a trusted friend, had deceived the noble elephant, manipulating him into captivity. As the kingdom's subjects cheered and danced, the elephant realized too late that he had been betrayed. The rope tied around his neck, once a symbol of honor, now represented his enslavement. The king, oblivious to the elephant's distress, handed his daughter over to the tortoise, congratulating him. The elephant's heart sank as he watched Tortoise and the princess ride off into the sunset. Perched on his own back, he had become the beast of burden, forced to carry his deceivers across the village. The moral of the story spread like wildfire. Be careful of the friends you go places with, for someone cannot be trusted. The kingdom's subjects whispered among themselves, warning each other of the dangers of blind trust. Grandpa Okoro finished the story, and his children looked at each other with wide eyes, eager to discuss what they had just heard. "What did you learn from the story, my children?" Grandpa asked, his eyes twinkling with curiosity. His eldest child, Chinedu, spoke up first. "I learned that even the slowest and weakest can achieve great things with determination and wisdom." His sister, Noma, added, "And I learned that true beauty comes from within, and that kindness and gentleness are just as important as physical beauty." Grandpa Okoro smiled, nodding his head in approval. "Ah, my children, you have indeed learned valuable lessons from the story."